Atlanta Super Speedway, not Motor Speedway. It still says Motor Speedway, Atlanta Motor Speedway, but technically isn't it a super speedway? Because it races like a super speedway, or is it not a super speedway? Leave it in the comments down below. That's a debate now that I'm having in my head. Is it Atlanta Super Speedway or Atlanta Motor Speedway? With how it races now, I believe it should be Atlanta Super Speedway. I'm probably wrong there, though, as I usually am wrong anyways, most of the time, which you guys know. And no, we will not be talking about the race yesterday. I saw that. Yeah. Listen, I'm going to give the Xfinity Series a break because the Xfinity Series usually provides very, 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 very good racing, more often than not better than the Cup Series. So, yeah, I'll give them a pass for what happened on Saturday, but that was definitely, I don't really hate on NASCAR as I used to when I was younger, so I just find these things funny. Like, I find it funny when something's so bad it becomes funny. That's kind of where I'm at, with NASCAR, so I'm not going to criticize it. And that goes for today's race as well. I think today's race has been the story of actually the season. I might not talk about today's race as much as I want to talk about NASCAR as a whole in general because, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but, TV ratings are down a little bit. I think that has to play with Chase Elliott not being racing. Trust me, it's for the most popular driver, those fans, I'm telling you right now, like they are not interested as much when their favorite driver is not racing, and that does explain the little bit more steep decline in ratings. I promise you it is part of that. I don't know how much, but it definitely is part of it because it is tough when your favorite driver is not racing. Listen, I did not watch the majority of the 2016 season because Gordon retired. I did not know what to do. I cannot tell you anything really about that 2016 season because I really did not watch it because I could not watch without Jeff Gordon. Seriously, it's a thing. And what is also a thing, I want to give a shout out to all the Patreon members, as always, for supporting the channel. Thank you guys, as always. You guys are the absolute best for commenting, liking, supporting, and everything. Guys, you want to support the channel directly, Patreon links in the description below, and it does access the Discord as well. Now, yeah, today's race, I think, really is what the rest of the season was like. It's 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, not bad, not good, normal. And to me, there's nothing wrong with that. I think we can have debates about configurations, races, schedules, where you go. Chicago street race is coming up later this season, and then Auto Club's not going to have a race, and they're going to turn that into a short track. And Atlanta used to be an old bumpy track, and now it's a super speedway. And they did that because they didn't want to repave it and wait 10 years for it to come in. You could debate that kind of stuff, but I know the first half of this race was not very exciting. Ford dominated, and that's that. But here's my take on it. If you want to go back to the heyday of NASCAR, when NASCAR was booming, when 10 million people were watching, it's kind of crazy that was a time for NASCAR. But there was a time where it was just so insanely popular. The races back then, I can honestly say, were maybe not as entertaining as we think. Like, I'm not saying, we've had Wreckfest races like the 2005 Coke 600. We've had memorable finishes like 2011 Atlanta, or I don't know, there's a bunch of them. There's some, 2003 Darlington, obviously, and 2005 Atlanta. There's plenty. The majority of races were also normal. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't have stages back then. So there was like 150 lap green flag runs. A majority of races were 500 miles, not 400 miles. I mean to say this because it's not wrong to maybe criticize NASCAR about certain decisions, packages, cars, races, whatever. Everyone has their opinion. Also back then, pre-2007 and everything, we didn't have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the ability to give your opinion at every point. I mean, even YouTube. You didn't have that. So there were probably a lot of people who were like, oh, this might be a little bit boring. But the point is, there was a ton of people watching, and if a race was boring, you didn't get the outrage of it because you didn't have Twitter, you didn't have your iPhones, really. It wasn't really a thing then. You would just kind of enjoy the race. And now, in 2023, it's just different. it's not NASCAR's fault. I believe, I've been thinking about this for a few days. I believe it is just the way the world is now. We use TikTok, we use Instagram Reels, we get content quicker, faster, we want more, we want better, and we can also express opinions very, very easily. With all those things, and as society, our interests change. Things we like, things we don't like. Back then, WWE was insanely popular and with more of like a little bit of an older audience. And now WWE is more popular with a younger audience. It's just the way things change. It's kind of the way it works. And I say that because I think today's race, especially the first half of it, was definitely not very entertaining. Apparently, according to Jeff Gluck, there was even the fans in the stands doing the wave. Okay, so yeah, like I get it, but and I felt the same way. For example, I felt the same way at Homestead last year. So I went to the Homestead playoff race, and I was watching, and it just felt a little bit dull in the crowd. And Homestead is a fantastic racetrack with fantastic racing. And, it just felt a little bit, and we have stage breaks to bring out restarts and everything. And I just think that NASCAR is kind of a victim to how the world has changed. And you can't necessarily change NASCAR with it. NASCAR is always going to be endurance, 400 miles, 500 miles, and the majority of races now are 400 miles. I said this months ago that NASCAR should make everything essentially 400 miles except for monument races, and they've essentially done that. They're trying, but I saw a lot of criticism about this race, and it's fine to criticize, but what do you want them to do? Because personally, I think NASCAR have made so many good decisions in the past 2 years. I think the race car, the next-gen car with some packages and stuff, might need a little bit of work, but overall, I think the next-gen car is a very good race car. I think what Steve Phelps is doing in terms of the schedule, how to market the sport, has been good. I still have a few complaints that, the one thing they don't do that they should is market superstars or create them. And NASCAR does have the ability to create superstars. They do. You just have to market them in the right way. And this is what Formula One does all the time. And I know I don't like comparing Formula One and NASCAR, and you shouldn't because Formula One's worldwide. It has a ton of money. I get it. You have to market your superstars. You have to market your drivers. If the drivers aren't there, NASCAR doesn't exist. And the racing product is great. And I think the racing product is okay. I really don't think that's really that big of a problem anymore. A few years ago, yes. But now I really don't think it's that big of a problem. You need to market superstars. Denny Hamlin has his own podcast, and then he gets fined and penalized for speaking an opinion or admitting to something. And he gets fined for that. And instead of NASCAR beating their drivers down into not letting them showcase personalities, NASCAR should be embracing their personalities. Because the drivers are what drive the sport. It what brings the fans in. And people, all of us, the majority of fans have a favorite driver or a favorite team. Just like in any other sport that we watch, we have a favorite competitor or a favorite team or a favorite athlete. And all those sports, I'm not even talking about Formula One. I'm talking about all these sports. All these sports market their superstars for the product. And NASCAR, I think, has really dropped the ball in the last few years in terms of marketing superstars. They just don't do it. They don't. And I think that's something they really need to work on, because the racing product, which I think also we are focused on, in my opinion, is okay. Today's race was fine. The last few races, in my opinion, were fine. They're not bad. They're not memorable. They are good races, in my opinion. They're okay. Fine. 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. But the superstars. Is Joey Logano a superstar? He could be. He's a 2-time champion. But NASCAR doesn't market him like that. Brad Keselowski, is he a superstar? No. Christopher Bell, is he ever even really talked about, or by fan bases or Fox or NBC or NASCAR? Not really, no. That was your top 3 today. 1, 2, 3. Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, and Christopher Bell. And these are not superstars. I go down the race results. Let's pop up the race results here. I know we haven't talked about the race, but I wanted to talk about more of a wider view today because I don't think there is a lot to talk about Atlanta. Atlanta's super speedway. You kind of know what you were gonna get. It's track position. It's too wide racing. It's being careful and stuff and trying not to crash. There were crashes and getting yourself in the right position at the right time. I think it was a good finish to the race. And it's no surprise that Ford won. Corey LaJoie in fourth. A terrific story. Terrific story. What if Alex Albon in the Williams got third or fourth at Jeddah today? Formula One would push that. The social accounts would push that. TV would push that. The paddock, even the other teams would push that. Corey LaJoie finished fourth today. And you're not going to hear much about it. You really aren't. You're not going to hear much about it. Tyler Reddick in fifth. Denny Hamlin in sixth. Ryan Blaney, Eric Jones, Ty Gibbs, Kyle Busch. Where are the superstars here? Kyle Busch is someone that fans hate. Some of them like now, some of them hate. NASCAR have marketed him up as much as possible. And I think they tried with Kyle Busch, definitely. And Kyle Busch was definitely part of that when NASCAR was booming in the late 2000s, early 2010s. Kyle Busch was part of that. Ryan Blaney, I think Ryan Blaney has a lot of superstar potential, and no one really pushes him and tries to market him. His personal life, what he does off the track, what he does on the track. No, instead we have Kyle Petty trying to beat him down by comparing him to Casey Kane and saying he's not good enough, essentially. I think there has to be more of a combined effort to try to build the drivers up to attract more fans and attract more eyes and make the events about them. And I don't think NASCAR and Fox and NBC do that enough. And I think the teams have a part to play in it as well. And I think the drivers, like Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick in this last season, should just say what they want. Say what you want. And NASCAR shouldn't offer the damn actions detrimental to stock car racing, whatever the hell it is, fine to them when they try to do it. Because they're trying to help you. Controversy and rivalries and all that stuff is what builds this sport. It's what it does. And going through race by race and cool, Logano won, and I need more. It's not enough. Like Formula One has had a lot of boring two boring races this season, and last season wasn't that great either because Red Bull's really good. But guess what? Because we have pushed Fernando Alonso, we have pushed Charles Leclerc, we have pushed Max Verstappen as the new driver to beat. You have the Mexican Ministry of Defense in Checo Perez. All these drivers, to be fair, there's 20 of them. Not all of them are superstars, and it's a small amount, but you are pushing narratives and pushing stories on these drivers that even when the race, like Formula One today, is just meh, it really is because, Red Bull is so insanely good and no one can compete with them. But still, the ratings go up. People watch. They watch the Netflix series. They have a bunch of fans. There are teenage girls everywhere cheering Lando Norris, even though Lando Norris in that McLaren is god-awful. But they are going to watch the whole race and listen to his radio because they love Lando Norris. Because they think he's probably really cute and they like him. But still, as weird as that sounds, it helps. And I think NASCAR really needs to do a lot more of that. And Chase Elliott's really the closest thing they have to it. And guess what? He's out. He's not here for another month. So I think this is just a lesson, in my opinion, that NASCAR can maybe learn as to, yes, I think we focused on the schedule. Yes, we focused on the car. And all these things I think they should have focused on. And to be fair, I think they're going in the right direction. It's time for the drivers. It's time to let them be more than drivers if you want NASCAR to get going again, in my opinion. And maybe it won't work. Maybe it won't. Maybe NASCAR will forever remain as a niche sport and kind of be its own thing for a certain group of people, and that will be that, and they'll never experience the boom of the 90s and the 2000s. Fine. I'm okay with that. But I still believe you should definitely push your drivers. I think I don't want to make this video too long. I know we didn't talk a lot about the race, but yeah, congratulations to Joey Logano. It's just another super speedway race. Fords were really, really good. I think it was a really good late move on Brad Keselowski to win it. But this race doesn't really tell me much for the rest of the season because it is just another kind of... Ford is not going to qualify 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 at another track, okay? That's just not going to happen. So I can't take too much out of this race. But next week should be really, really interesting as well. So I think isn't next week Coda, I'm pretty sure. And then after that, you have some short tracks, if I am right. Yes, Circuit of the Americas, Richmond, Bristol Dirt, Martinsville, Talladega. So a lot of really interesting races there coming up all the way through late April, which I think this part of the schedule is fantastic in my opinion when you go to tracks like that. I think the summer has gotten better as well because obviously you have Darlington, North Wilkesboro, back to back because the All-Star race is at North Wilkesboro. So yeah, I think this is going to be a really cool few months. Let me know what you guys thought of the race. And I'm sorry I didn't talk about it a lot. I just wanted to talk about more. Do you guys agree with me on that NASCAR should build superstars? And how would you go by it? I think it's a collective effort between owners, drivers, teams, broadcast partners, and NASCAR themselves. I think not one person can do it. I think everyone has to pitch in, maybe even sometimes fake it a little bit. I'm not even lying. Sometimes do what Kyle Busch does and play an act. That's just my opinion on it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I will try to edit this and get this out to you guys as soon as possible. I will be back home in South Florida tomorrow. I will try to get a video, guys, up to you tomorrow if I'm able to record in time. I will not have the green screen tomorrow, but I will be in South Florida for the next few days, so I will be back home for a little bit. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully I will see you guys tomorrow. Follow me on Twitter if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. Comment down below. Everyone, hopefully you have enjoyed your weekend. And by the way, eight points clear. 8 points. If we don't win this league, I'm going into hibernation for 5 months, and you're never seeing me again. So, yeah. Stress. Bye-bye.